What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Monday, March 3rd, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 14:48 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we currently have a U.S. presidential doomsday plane up in the air over the D.C. area, which is very, very strange. We also have some high priority reconnaissance planes airborne over southern Canada. And we also have a nuclear bomber airborne over Minnesota. So for some reason, U.S. nuclear forces are on high alert. Here you can see this Combat Sentinel, which is a high priority reconnaissance plane that sends intelligence directly to the president, taking off from Maine and heading directly west towards the upper Midwest in the U.S. And then here we have a B-1 Lancer that's flying over northern Minnesota right now. That's a nuclear bomber. Very, very interesting, pretty unusual flight pattern here, flying southwest to northeast across Minnesota, then doing a big pass over northern Wisconsin. They usually don't do that if they're just doing training. They'll usually start looping over a very small area of the country. But this B-1 Lancer took a huge loop here over Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. We also have a nuke sniffer plane airborne that took off from Offutt Air Base and is now heading southeast towards Florida for some reason. These planes can detect radiation in the atmosphere from nuclear tests and from nuclear power plant meltdowns. So we have some major breaking news coming in from Russia and from the Baltic Sea and also from Israel. Russia is going to be testing their emergency warning systems throughout their country on March the 5th, which is Wednesday. Okay, so Wednesday, Russia will be testing their emergency warning systems throughout all of Russia. Also, we have a suspected sabotage incident in the Swedish Gotland Island. This is an island in the middle of the Baltic Sea. It's a Swedish island, and for many years, NATO and the Swedes have been concerned that Russia could try to attack the Gotland Island and take it over, seize control of it. Well, police and the Swedish Security Service are now investigating a suspected sabotage to Gotland's water supply, where an electrical cabinet cable had been pulled out, stopping the raw water pumps. The region confirms that the sabotage could have affected most of Gotland Island, but thanks to a technician's actions, the function was restored without affecting the water supply. No one has been arrested for the incident, and the area has been cordoned off for further investigation, the area around the sabotage, okay, the electrical cabinet. So clearly some kind of Russian agent there. Very, very concerning. Here's a picture of the electrical cabinet where the sabotage took place. You can see the area was cordoned off with police tape. Okay, so this is very, very concerning. Another car attack has taken place in Germany this morning. A car drove into a crowd of people in the center of Mannheim in southwestern Germany. 2 people died and 25 people were seriously injured. So Germany's policy on migration is the cause for all these attacks, and the EU migration policy allowing all these people to come in with no background checks or anything from all over the world. And it looks like Israel is getting ready to go back into Gaza again with a massive invasion force and try to kick out the Palestinians and occupy Gaza in accordance with Trump's plan for Gaza. So the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said earlier today that with the U.S.'s support, Israel's preparing for the next stage of the campaign, adding that not all plans can be disclosed. At the right moment, what needs to happen will burst forth with force. In the past few months, we have proven this. And the Israeli finance minister, Smotrich, said the next stage in the Gaza war will involve cutting off electricity and water and unleashing the gates of hell on Gaza with a powerful, lethal, and swift attack aimed at occupying the territory and initiating Trump's plan to encourage the emigration of Gaza's residents. Smotrich is flying to the U.S. tonight to meet with the U.S. Treasury Secretary. Okay, so this is why those bombs were given to Israel over the weekend. Okay, the Secretary of State Marco Rubio released 30,000 bombs that were held up by the Biden administration to Israel, worth $4 billion. And also, Trump approved a $3 billion emergency sale to Israel. Okay, so looks like Israel is going to go into Gaza, try to occupy it, and kick out the Palestinians, and then the U.S. would take it over, just like Trump said. And Russia is now planning a massive drone attack on Ukraine. Apparently, they're going to start using up to 500 drones per day. Okay, so they're going to try to wear down the Ukrainians with massive drone attacks of up to 500 drones per day. Okay, normally when Russia attacks Ukraine, they launch maybe 50 to 150 drones. I think the most they've ever launched at Ukraine was like 230. So they're going to go double what the most they've ever sent to Ukraine, and every single day. And this was reported by Ukraine's main intelligence directorate. And the Belarusian president, Alexander Lukashenko, who happens to be close friends with Putin, said over the weekend in an interview with Mario Nawfal that Russia will never agree to European peacekeepers in Ukraine. So there's the big problem. Okay, this is why the peace deal is not going to work, because Ukraine does not want a ceasefire or peace deal without any kind of security guarantees. And Russia has said many times they're not going to allow any peacekeepers, whether it's European or American, to be in Ukraine. So how's this peace deal going to work? It's just going to be a piece of paper basically begging Putin to stop attacking Ukraine with no guarantee that Putin's going to stop. So guys, get prepared, continue to prepare. There's not going to be any kind of miraculous peace deal. This war is going to continue, okay? Maybe in a different form. If they sign a peace deal, the war may continue in a different form, but it's not going to stop, okay? It's written in the Bible that World War III has to happen before Jesus Christ returns, okay? And President Trump will meet today with the Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to consider suspending or canceling U.S. military aid to Ukraine, including remaining shipments approved under the Biden administration. Wow. And preparations for a meeting between U.S. President Trump and Russia's President Putin are now being fast-tracked, according to CNN, citing undisclosed sources. And the White House said this morning that Trump is open to resuming talks with Zelensky on natural resources, but only if he changes his position. And Zelensky said over the weekend in an interview with the BBC that an agreement to end the war is still very, very far away, and no real steps in this direction have been taken. He also said, our relations with Trump will continue, as will the support of Partners for Ukraine. He would resign if Ukraine is granted NATO membership, and Ukraine is not going to cede territories despite some signals from partners, in particular the U.S., and if the U.S. president invites me for a constructive dialogue, I will come. Ukraine needs peace, not eternal war, and that is why we say that security guarantees are key to this. But Russia does not want those security guarantees, okay? They don't want peacekeepers in Ukraine. And he said he is ready to sign the minerals agreement again with the U.S., And he said, "We are counting on U.S. assistance, and its termination will be an aid to Putin." And according to Zelensky, so far support from the U.S. has not stopped, but we are talking about previously approved packages, the president added. And Mike Waltz, the national security advisor, said today that we need to hear from Zelensky that he regrets what happened, that he's ready to sign this minerals deal, and that he's ready to engage in peace talks. And Trump says Zelensky's statement that peace with Russia is far away is the worst statement he can make, and that America will not tolerate it much longer, and added that Zelensky does not want peace as long as he has the support of the U.S. and Europe. And Friedrich Merz, the recently elected German chancellor, said the U.S. deliberately orchestrated the Zelensky-Trump Oval Office clash. Friedrich Merz said it was not a spontaneous reaction, but obviously a manufactured escalation in this meeting in the Oval Office. And Putin's spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, hailed the Trump administration for rapidly changing U.S. foreign policy configurations. This largely coincides with our vision. And Kash Patel, the newly appointed director of the FBI, called on the U.S. Congress to investigate how aid money sent to Ukraine has been used, the Epoch Times reported on March 2nd. "I've asked Congress to investigate where this money has gone. The American people are owed that answer because it's our money," Patel said. And the EU does not have a united stance on giving Ukraine frozen Russian assets, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said on March 2nd at the London summit focused on Ukraine. He also said that the EU should use Russian frozen assets to fund Ukraine's reconstruction and military support. And the U.S. has suspended operations and planning for offensive cyber operations against Russia, a senior U.S. official told CNN. And a U.S. aircraft carrier arrived in South Korea in a show of force after the North Korean strategic cruise missile test. The arrival of the USS Carl Vinson and its strike group at the South Korean port of Busan is meant to display a solid U.S.-South Korean military alliance in the face of tensions with North Korea and boost interoperability of the Allies' combined assets, the South Korean Navy said in a statement. It said it was the first U.S. aircraft carrier to travel to South Korea since June of 2024. North Korea said Friday it test-fired strategic cruise missiles earlier last week to inform its adversaries of its military's counterattack capability and the readiness of its nuclear forces. After the launches, Kim Jong-un said the North Korean military must be fully ready to use its nuclear weapons. And at the EU ambassadors' meeting over the weekend, Hungary blocked a draft document that outlined security guarantees and military aid for Ukraine. And we had this B-52 nuclear bomber fly down to Serbia, which is very, very unusual and very concerning. Now, over the last 2 to 3 weeks, we've been seeing a lot of reconnaissance here in the Balkans area, particularly in western Bulgaria. There's been RQ-4 Global Hawk reconnaissance planes and other reconnaissance planes patrolling the border of Serbia and Bulgaria, and now this B-52 flew all the way down from the UK, did loops here in western Bulgaria, then it flew along the border of Romania and Serbia and did a couple of loops along the border of Hungary and Serbia. So something is going on over here in Serbia. Clearly the US is collecting reconnaissance information on the Serbian military and then flying a B-52 bomber around Serbia as a show of force. And then here we have some more video footage coming out of Russia showing that oil refinery 1,400 kilometers away from the Ukrainian border that was hit last night by Ukrainian drones. Okay, this entire refinery is now on fire, so the Ukrainians are continuing to attack Russia's oil infrastructure. This particular refinery is one of Russia's oldest and largest refineries, and now it's on fire. And last night, for a brief period of time, all of Ukraine went under an air raid alert because of the deployment of MiG-31K fighter bombers. Nothing ended up happening after those fighter bombers were deployed by Russia, but it's a sign that Russia is preparing for something. They're preparing to retaliate against Ukraine for all these strikes on Russia's oil. We also had a lot of reconnaissance in the Baltic countries and in Poland. You can see 2 private recon planes chartered by the U.S. government, one in the Baltics, flying along the border of Estonia and Russia, and then also along the border of Lithuania and Russia, and then also here a U.S. recon plane in northern Poland patrolling the border of Russia and Poland, and then another privately chartered recon plane operating for the U.S. government looping around Kaliningrad, and then we had an Estonian recon plane fly out towards the Gotland Island. Okay, so massive reconnaissance here in the Baltics and around Kaliningrad. This is going to be the next war front that's going to start probably in the coming months. Russia's going to be moving 150,000 troops into Belarus for what they are calling exercises, and Belarus is already practicing redeploying their forces throughout the country. They started that last week. Okay, they're practicing moving tanks and equipment via rail and on roads, and also they've called up reserves. Okay, so Russia is planning something here. They could attack the Baltics and Poland as soon as this summer. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully that doesn't happen. And then we also had a missile detecting and tracking plane deployed from Diego Garcia, and it landed in Qatar. Okay, so Diego Garcia is a very secret base in the Indian Ocean, and we usually keep stealth bombers there. Well, this Cobra Ball, which is a plane used to track missile trajectories, was moved to Qatar for some reason. Okay, now in addition to that, we had some reconnaissance off the coast of Iran. So something is brewing over here in the Middle East for them to move a Cobra Ball and to be doing this recon. And the U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says tariffs on Canada and Mexico will go into effect on Tuesday, and President Trump will determine whether to stick with the planned 25% level or not. And Trump said, tomorrow night will be big. I will tell it like it is. And he was referring to his address to Congress, which is going to take place at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And there was a 3.9 magnitude earthquake yesterday near the Oscars. Right after the Oscars wrapped up, a magnitude 3.9 earthquake struck North Hollywood at 10:13 p.m., sending tremors across Los Angeles, the San Fernando Valley, and even Huntington Beach. The quake hit just 10 miles from the Oscars Avenue. Wow. And more than 175 fires were recorded in South Carolina over the weekend, covering 17 square kilometers. One blazed near Carolina Forest, a community just west of the tourist spot in Horry County, stretched across 1,600 acres and was 30% contained as of Sunday evening, according to the South Carolina Forestry Commission. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster declared a state of emergency, and apparently the Pope is in stable condition. And here we have footage of these massive wildfires in South Carolina near Myrtle Beach. Absolutely insane. Look at that. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I'm going to continue to monitor the situation and update you guys accordingly. Check out my 24/7 live stream. It's up right now. Also, download my app. It's available for free in the Google Play Store. It allows me to send you notifications outside of social media, so when things are happening, I can update you. Also, I can send out notifications when I post updates. Also, follow me on Telegram and Twitter. I post all my updates over there, and the links to all of this stuff is in the description below this video. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP Shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP Shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP Shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video.